You can see that the closet organizer is coming together very well. We've got the 3 drawers in. They are very smooth when they open up. Still got a little bit of work to do on the top here, where we're gonna put the top shelf in for both sides and the rods. Got to anchor those to the wall, but we're getting there. But we're going to skip that for a little bit and move into filling in the holes from the nail holes along the baseboard and the quarter round molding that you see here. And this is where I need to do a little bit more splaining for all of you out there. So essentially, when you're doing a project like this, a renovation, there's a lot of different phases, but at a high level, you break it down into 3 phases. The prep work, pre-work. You saw a lot of that in the bonus room when I was putting in the insulation, the HVAC, making sure the studs were all lined up and putting up the drywall. And then you got the actual construction phase, which goes into the drywall, putting up the joint compound and the tape before you get to the finishing phase for painting. And then you got the finishing phase, which is a lot of detail work once you're done painting, meaning filling in these holes, right? Painting the molding that goes around the door, caulking everything. All of that stuff takes a lot of time, probably as much time as the pre-work. That first phase I was talking about. And therefore, when I do these videos, the videos are going to be a little more sparse in between my releasing them out to my Facebook friends, because there's just so much work and detail work that you have to do to get all this done that it just takes a lot of time. And that's all it comes down to. But they will be coming, and we're going to move along best we can here. So with that being said, I wanted to show you what I do here with filling in these holes from the power tool to get this molding up. So there's 2 types of filler that you can use, or that I like to use rather, for these holes to fill them up before I sand them down again and then paint over them with the finish paint. We've got this plastic wood one, which I mentioned before in an earlier video. I like this stuff a lot because if you look at it, it goes on pink, and then as it dries the tannish color. You can kind of see that on the edges here. So we're probably going to use this one for all these holes. It makes it a lot easier for me to see the holes too, where I need to sand that down. But there's another method that just works just as well, and that's this stuff. It's lightweight spackling. This one just happens to be Fast and Final. They're both made by the same company, DAP, as you can see here. And this just looks a little like crumbly blue cheese in this one, but it's a little dried out, but it still works just fine. It's very lightweight, and you can see here it comes off in this flakes. And I'm just gonna do one here to show you, but what you do is just take it with your finger, just press it into the hole, and then it fills the hole in, as you can see here. When that dries, you can sand that down and just paint over it. Now, that works just as well, but I still rather prefer using this, because when that dries and you get a nice smooth coat over it, sometimes it's a little harder to see where the holes are, because it does blend in very well, and then you have to sand it over. And I've had instances in the past where I've used the spackling stuff here, gone into the hole, went around the baseboard, sanded everything down, and then when I started to paint, I've noticed that I've missed a few holes because it does blend in very well. And then you got to go back, get your tools out, sand all that down. So I want to just try to avoid that. I'm just going to use the pink stuff that changes color. I'll be able to see the brown very nicely off of the molding here, and then just sand that down and just paint over it with the finish paint. So that's what I'm going to do there. But either one of these works really nice. It's just a matter of your preference. So we're going to spend the next, I'm going to say probably an hour or so just filling in these holes, and then we will cover that for the night. You can see I've started putting the wood plastic into the base molding here, and it's already starting to turn color back to the natural wood color, that kind of tan beige color. You can see here, some of it's still a little pink because it's still drying, but this is what I meant by it's easy to see. And when I come back and sand that down, I'll be able to know exactly where the finished paint is going to be placed. And you can see here, I've already got almost half the room done. It's only been about 7 minutes. So we're in a really good place. My hour prediction is going to be shattered. That'll make up for all the other miscues on my timing. So with that being said, I want to show you what I do to put this plastic wood stuff on. So you can see here it's pink. I'm just using the tip of my fingers here. You can see it's coated already and starting to dry off, but all I do is just dip my finger in here, just grab a little piece, all right, just like that. That's probably too much, but you'll get the gist here, and just fill in the hole. So I'm just gonna fill in the hole like this and move down to the next one. And then wipe the excess off. And I'm just doing this one-handed. I'm going kind of slow, but I'll do the same here on this one. Now you can see here, I was a little off on my measurement for the corner. There's probably a good 1/8 of an inch right there. Normally I would fill that with caulk. The caulk would shrink, and then I have to go back through and do caulk again. Nothing wrong with doing that. It just takes a little more time. But while I'm here and I have this stuff already out, I'm just gonna fill that hole up, make sure I'm a little bit over excess, and when I go back and sand it, it should smooth out pretty good, and you'll see that happening here. This stuff's also good if you zoom in real close. There's a little crack right there on the molding. We're gonna fill that in, and then we'll sand that down. You won't even see it. But we're gonna continue on here along the entire base molding and quarter round, and we'll do another video when I get done. So we'll see you then. Continuing on our journey here by filling in the nail holes, you can see I had a little bit of work to do on this corner. There was a pretty good size gap there, about an 1/8 of an inch, similar to the one we had in that corner. But it came around the corner all in about 7 minutes again. So we're moving along pretty well. There's a lot of this plastic wood in that corner, but once again, once we sand that down and paint over it, you won't even notice it. But one other thing I wanted to show you here is, as I'm going along filling in all these holes, every once in a while I'm coming across a finished nail that didn't go all the way in because maybe there wasn't enough air in the air tool to push that all the way through or drive it, or it had the wrong angle so it didn't push it all the way in. Anywho, when you come across one of those, it's very simple to fix that. You just need your hammer, which I have here, and a nail punch. And I've got the wide one on here. This is if you look at the tip here, it's kind of got a large tip on it. And that is the wide one. And I just punch that in. It makes a slightly larger hole than the nail itself. But that's okay because you're just gonna go back through, you're just gonna go back through and fill it in with this plastic stuff. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. I think we can get a good look here. Yep. And all you do is you take your nail punch, put it on the tip there like this, sticking out, and then you just nail it in. And if you miss a couple times, that's okay. Now that's a little bigger than what I wanted, but the nail is now all the way in. And all you need to do here is take some of our plastic wood. I'll get a little more on my finger here. You see that? And we'll just press it right into that hole. When that dries up, we'll just sand over it and we're ready to paint. So we'll leave that one as it is. We'll finish this side up and we'll call it a day. We have finished all of the filling in of the nail holes on the quarter round and base molding. Finished it in about 45 minutes, so that worked out very well. We got in the closet. You can see the pink is starting to turn to brown, as I've said several times. And it's looking very nice. So from this point, we are going to sand these down after everything dries, probably in the next day or so. And I'm not going to show you a video of doing that or when that gets finished into this series, because it's going to look the same as you see on the molding around the door. The holes are just going to be sanded down like this. They're going to be smooth, and that's going to be the same effect that you see on the molding. So I won't cover that twice. However, what I do want to show you are a few more touch-ups that I had to do. Now you look at the switches here, and you can see I've got it taped off, and you can see I've added joint compound on the edge here. The reason why I did that is because when I put the faceplate on the switches, you could just see a little bit of a gap here because the faceplate wasn't big enough to cover that, and I got a jumbo size faceplate going on there. So what I am doing, and I'm doing it right, I taped all this off. I filled it in with joint compound. There's a stud right here, so that just fills in. But there's so much joint compound going in there that it was inevitably going to crack, which you can see here. I'm just waiting for this to dry a little more. It's still a little bit soft, even though it's been about 24 hours. So we're gonna let that dry one more day. I'm gonna put another coat on, make it a little thicker so I can just sand it down, and then we'll just touch that up with finished paint, the same color we have here. I also had to do the same over on this wall, as you can see in the corner there. What had happened there is when I was striking the hammer to put the hardwood floors in, I hit the side of the wall with the back of the hammer, and that's solid iron, and put a dent in the wall, so I just filled that in. We'll sand that down, go over it with some paint also. Even though that is a closet, I want to make sure that's done right. So that will take care of that. With that, we are going to close this one out because the next video will be nothing but caulking, and we will start number 47 on that one, I believe. So until next time,